Hello and welcome to Dicebucks, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week, the Frontispiece Four and their accomplices begin in the basements, but need a new destination. Hello and welcome. I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me are...
Hello, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Hecate, aka Kato, past and possibly but not necessarily present owner of a bookstore.
I'm Robin, and I'll be playing Cal Armitage, better known as Goliath's favorite terabyte boy.
I'm Dez, and I'll be playing Matchstick, who may be responsible more directly than IMX for the lack of a frontispiece. Shortly.
And hello, my name is Nick. I am one of many Nicks in the world, but I'm probably the only one playing Ing, an android drone operator.
It would be kind of wild if there was another Nick right now when we're recording, or for that matter, when our listeners are listening to this playing Ing specifically. That would be pretty unlikely.
I think that means that our Nick would have to fight that Nick, and I am not a fan of this.
Our Nick would win.
It's the 200...
Well,
our Nick would win.
I assume it would work on Jet Li's The One rules, so may actually play out to our advantage.
True.
Well, thank you, players. And before we get into our recap of last time, we have some XP expenditure and character advancement to cover. So we'll take it in intro order and start with Kato.
All right. So I'm taking 2 levels, actually, given that we got a chunk of XP last time, and there hasn't sort of been a narratively plausible time for me to level up, but now there's a whole bunch of them. So I'm going to say, based on the events that have taken place, I am taking the talent Fixing the Odds, which will mean that once per session, when I or an ally have an advantage on a roll, we can turn that into a boost instead. Because that is my 7th fixer talent, that also means that my aid another talent, which is when I have a generic specialty relevant to an ally's task in plenty of time, I could have added +1 to their rolls. Now I can add the full value of my specialty instead. So that's pretty neat. Because I'm taking 2 levels, I'm also going to take paid on a future cybernetic augment. I'm going to have to do something about both my face and my arm, and this will allow me to do that without taking on new economic burden. I think we'll do it in text, but while we're on the run, calling in a favor to see about rearming and refacing myself. And then as far as generic specialties, I am going to take 3 points in a new one, which is explosioneering. I think it's come up in text that this is now something I am good at and willing to show people that I'm good at. I believe that leaves me with 1 point, so I'm going to take 1 point of clever defense.
Very good. Cal.
Fantastic. Explosioneering is such a
It's a very good name for it.
So I will be just taking 1 level because Cal, when we think of them, they're constantly advancing in emotional intelligence and sensitivity. So I'll be taking the talent harm reduction once per mission. If you have marked a harm box on your damage track, you may spend 1 prep to ignore the penalty from that box for the rest of the mission. And in terms of specialties, I have added 1 to riot gear, meaning that it is up to 2 now, and has increased my tough defense by 1 point. And I'm also taking on a new specialty, which is field medicine, based on my first aid kit asset at a level 1.
Excellent.
I am upgrading ghosting, so that the generic ghosting, because the hacker ghosting was already at max. So my hacking and my ghosting are now matched again at +6 plus, the relevant attribute. And then for my other generic specialty, I'm putting another point into Redacted. And for my talent, I've taken Weird Science, +1 to roles related to dreamers, namely tracking, analyzing, predicting, or escaping. I strongly thought about taking the one that would just give me +3 personal prep the first time I went for personal prep, but we're probably not doing any more missions. So
certainly there is very finite number of possible new missions. So
it's unlikely to be 0, but equally unlikely to be more than 1. That's my guess.
yeah.
I don't know, but yeah.
That's about where I've got it pinned. And Ing.
Yeah, I will also be taking 2 level ups because I had delayed leveling up before. So I will be taking Notorious, which I choose a group. In this case, I'll be choosing Law 0. Once per session, I can call upon that group like I would a community resident. I will also be taking Full Sync, which is an illegal upgrade that syncs my neurology with my drones. So I am taking after my prior set of drone children in a way. And we'll see where that goes. Sure, to interesting places. Other than that, I'm taking 2 points of personal drone specialty, generic, and 2 points of tough defense.
Excellent. So, we're coming into our own in terms of character advancement. In a few cases, it seems, which is, I think, well paced. But
just in
after
time for
all
the
of
campaign
that,
to start toward ending.
That seems like well paced to me, honestly. So now, having absorbed all of that mechanical and logistical information, we should refresh ourselves and extra especially our listeners to where we were when last you heard from us. So let's get into our recap of last time, this time courtesy of the Revenant.
Trent Hosk, the one who wielded the truncheon. If he ever wakes up, he'd find himself with a life sentence for an unrelated crime. Best I could do. Vance Creel and Ellis Marr blocked protesters, possibly Tama, from intervening. Blacklisted at least one, fled to Earth. A few other cops that day that got too rowdy found themselves with bounties and subsequent lawsuits. Lou Tupper. No explanation required. Same goes for the men who made him possible. Max Broderick, Barlow Hawthorne, CEO, the one who made sure crooked cops stayed useful to a corrupt corporation. You don't make a list like that expecting to win. You make it to keep moving, stacking bigger names, bigger monsters, until one of them finally stops you. So, when I caught up to Barlow, the Barlow Hawthorne, top of the impossible list, I reacted on instinct. Sticky shock around, right between the eyes. Pew! Not clean, not clever, just muscle memory doing what it's done 1,000 times before. Ironic, isn't it? My training undoing what should have been my great revenge, foiling my chance to monologue like a bad criminal caricature. Ing and I bound him, dragged him into an empty cell. I didn't have time to decide how I felt about it. I only had time to ensure that he wasn't walking out on his own power or walking, period. At least not without augments or a really damn good surgeon. Then I turned my attention to why we really were there. Haru was alive. So was the other prisoner, unidentified, unconscious, but breathing. And Law Zero promptly cleared out with their people. We debated about the exit strategy. Front door versus basement. At the front would mean more fighting with a team already running on fumes, but the basement required resources that we weren't sure we could find. The team voted basement, which even Cato referred to as the insane choice. But that's us, isn't it? An odds-defying single stone, a mote of dust in a hard drive. We were greeted by one Goliath personnel when the elevator doors opened on the first floor. Ing's voice and use of Barlow's badge number lured the bumbling idiot into my range of fire. Then I provided cover while the team entered the basements and Ing's drones pulled explosives from storage. There were 3 additional goons that I couldn't allow to call reinforcements or see where the group had gone. One tried to flashbang me, a rookie move. I stopped being polite, and a few rubber rounds to the head ended the discussion. A tear gas grenade for the other 2 left them with a sore throat and wounded pride. Here's the part I didn't expect. None of that felt like revenge. Every shot I fired tonight could have been about settling old scores. That would have been easy, comfortable. Instead, it felt directed, focused, like the difference between flailing and bracing your feet before you swing. I wasn't fighting to make someone hurt or to ease mine. I was fighting to make sure my people got out alive. That's new. Or maybe it's old, buried way back with my belief in the badge, and I'd just forgotten what it felt like. When it was over and I holstered my weapon, my pulse settled faster than it used to, fast enough that I wondered if my heart was racing at all, like my body understood something my head was still catching up to. Down in the basement, Cato handled the explosives with a look that said they'd done this before and wished they hadn't. They carved us an escape tunnel into the station's lower arteries, a path blessedly far from the dual Uwu panzers that I didn't feel like tangoing with tonight. There's a moment where it seemed like Cato might think I should go ahead of them, but that would have deprived me of the opportunity to see them dive headfirst, Pooh Bear-like, into the tunnel. As a parting note, Cato blew up the generator. Lights out for Goliath. And we made it. Somehow we made it. I looked around at the rest of them, still standing, still breathing, and felt something settle in my chest that had nothing to do with survival. And that's when the text came through. IMX is at the frontispiece. Maybe I sighed a breath of relief too soon.
Extremely well done. Thank you for that catch up. Always the case that I'm a little in awe of the in-character recaps that you, my players, bring to the table. That is exactly where we pick up, is sort of moving into the first new stretch of basement since the, hole from the Goliath basement, and dealing with the late breaking news from Bronwy that IMX has showed up at the frontispiece. Now, Bronwy's communique has very little information in it. Very terse. Seems like she is not able to put her whole attention on it for whatever reason, but you have very little information on the situation. Regardless, it seems like maybe that's not a good place to go right this instant, which, leaves you then with the issue of where you are going and can you get there. So we rejoin the action right there. I believe that at the end of last time, we had gotten just kind of the very first little bit of Cato sharing this information, with the group. But I don't mind if we overlap there a little bit if you'd like to.
Yeah. As I'm telling the group what's going on, I'm also messaging Bronwy back and saying, get out safe. Or if you can't, message back and we'll do what we can.
It takes a moment, but you get like a thumbs up react, and then no further activity, suggesting that whatever she's going to do, she's doing it.
She seems to know what she's about. Matchstick, what are we about?
Execute burn protocols.
I look a little surprised that happened so quickly, but then I get the look of deferring to the expert on the topic.
Sorry about your show.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So, probably relatively transparent here, but, we had discussed before about Byrne having set up contingencies for more or less exactly this kind of thing, where essentially, all of the systems pretty well scrub themselves to the point where, you can tell that there was a system there, and that's about it. Is there any other detail, Burn, that you want to make sure we, establish here about what your burn protocols are doing?
It is a bit more literal and a bit more incendiary than that.
Okay. So
there's a lot of paper in there. There's a lot of tinder. And also, if you turn off the fans of every computer in there and then have them, say, run the equivalent of all of Minecraft for 2 hours in approximately 30 seconds, you will not only slag the systems, you will ignite them.
Thank you for not minting NFTs, even in this dire hour.
Fuck no.
As I see you preparing to do this, I also message Gorister and say, don't come into work. Also, please confirm you did not come into work.
If you came into work, correct that.
Right. For once, Gorister gets back to you pretty quickly with just music to my ears. Heading to the bar.
ASCII art of 2 clinking beer steins.
So, yeah.
After this, that entire chat exchange and every text between you and Gorister and any of the rest of us is cleared from everyone's phones.
I find that some of my cache of ASCII art has been destroyed in the process, and I mourn it briefly.
It repopulates from where I've been keeping it all in a separate directory.
I breathe a sigh of relief and then another of concern.
I was going to say, you're not beating the radical Edward allegations.
Which of
In
us?
fact, continue to only deepen them.
I was referring to Burn, having cached the ASCII art and repopulated it.
It was important to Cato.
Yeah.
Historians love nothing more than a horde.
So, meanwhile, while these things are taking place, which is a relatively brief window, but not no time, we are proceeding deeper into the uptown end of the station's basements, which are less familiar. My understanding here from last time is that the 10 drones that you had in the Goliath HQ with you would have accompanied you into the Goliath basement and then further into the basement because we didn't ever go for the front door, which leaves you with some scouting capacity, at least. They can move a little faster, fan out, find dead ends or hazards. And so using this, you're able to be navigating in roughly the correct direction. The conundrum, of course, that you've got as a group is that Goliath is going to know that you escaped into the basements. They may or may not have an easy time pursuing you there, but especially if they have any, say, connections with government agencies, law enforcement agencies that have better schematics of the basements, then there is a little bit of a impetus to relocate underground, but move above ground after that, at which point you have to worry only about the recognizability visually of members of your group here. So as we traverse with the aid of Ing's drones and start looking for safe places to emerge and hopefully head for a crowded place, you got at least, Haru with you, who could would really appreciate some filling in, although she has, remained task oriented and relatively quiet up to this point. You have your as yet still unconscious anonymous prisoner, who Rikarth is mostly taking care of carrying around. And you've got anything in particular that you want to discuss, strategize, share, etc.
I mean, at a minimum, I'll fill in sort of a narrative to Haru of so we went looking for Apatia and we found your dad, and then we reconvened at First Aid Kittens, and then we came for you because you were on the news. That is the very brief summary.
Sure. Haru, of course, is very interested in hearing the specifics of her father's condition, and dismayed, but not surprised that it's, less than pristine. She does mention, as had been alluded to before, that she was fully prepared for her to be investigating his murder, right, rather than mounting a rescue mission. So
he's alive,
she's,
and at least in some sense, maybe a little bit transhuman, and maybe dealing with the effects thereof. Too soon to say.
I'll take alive, that's for sure, and thank you, if I haven't already said that, for finding him and getting him out. Sorry for the trouble, I suppose. But I'm sure it's not terribly safe for us to go directly to him, but I would very much like to see him when we can.
I mean, I don't think it is any less safe for us to go directly to him than to go anywhere fucking else.
Not sure that would be the safest option for him, is my main concern. Not to mention
yes.
First Aid Kitten.
So Haru, sort of branches off from that and says, well, if your normal base of operations is,
Compromised,
unavailable, and
an unreadable look passes my face.
I rest a hand on your shoulder.
My, usual haunts are known, as my whole MO was to hide behind a public persona. Where can we go?
I think the answer may be to ping Allie.
Haru kind of nods thoughtfully. Now, Kato, you had begun preparing for this eventuality a little while back. We had left the specifics pretty vague. But you had made some, rolls, invested some time, in making sure that you were, prepared for if the frontispiece became unavailable. I just scrolled on your sheet and saw explosion earring and smiled. Good shit.
Yeah, I had made overtures to find a place relatively nearby to the rescue operation that could be a safe house. And to remind the listener who can't see my character sheet, I have an ability called Scavenger that would let me set up a workshop in that place. I would need one cash, which I don't have, and I would need a day's work, which remains to be seen whether we can do that safely. But assuming those things fall into place, we do have the ability to set up a new place where we can go to ground for a bit.
So, following up on that, I am going to have you roll, not because there's any chance of retroactive failure, right? You've already done the things that you've done, but because I actually have a couple of possibilities, and your roll is going to help me decide which one is actually available when you need it. So
dice for the Hollyhock god, dice for his throne.
Yeah, roll a cool plus criminal underworld. Which I believe is going to be a plus 2d6 plus 3 for you.
Cool. That is a 4 plus 3 for 7.
7. Just making sure that you don't have anything specific that will affect the roll, because I know you have a lot of little fixery things bopping around your character sheet here. Like I said,
It's an interesting array of abilities at this point. It's true.
not really a success or failure roll
Sure.
precisely, just help me to pick a thing.
But we may as well get an
And-
accurate number. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Oh.
plausibly it could be I know a guy, since the place, I guess, is an asset.
That would
But
be
I
the
didn't roll a
case,
crit,
yeah.
so I guess that doesn't matter.
So, Kato, you are catching up, I suppose, on some of your efforts and inventorying the possibilities, right, that you identified over the past couple of, probably about a couple of weeks of pre-mission and then prep and then getting into the mission, kind of thinking about this ahead of time. And based on where you are and, what the various responses were, you had a possibility that you had responded in the affirmative to, brought to you by HF, who we've talked about before, wanting to be helpful, but not usually having the most helpful options, to offer. Said they knew somebody, referred to them as the Scrungler, and refused to explain. But described the space that the Scrungler had available as essentially poached from a block of warehouses. The Scrungler just started walling off the coterminous corners of these warehouses. So you have to get in through the roof, but it's roughly Central Station. And, it can't really be accessed from the buildings, which apparently nobody has noticed are smaller now than they were before the Scrungler took up residence. And HF assured you, in your correspondence on this, the Scrungler's space was large enough for a group. You could stay there for a while. The Scrungler knew to maybe expect you and, was chill with you, staying there while you beat the heat, so to speak, and had some supplies, though those were not well identified. That said,
Okay.
You are moving in a 90-degree arc of the right direction through the basements right now. It'll be easier to get there. Once you are above ground, you will need to get to the roofs to go in, though only briefly. At the moment, you let HF know to let the Scrungler know that you're coming in hot.
Cool.
If there's anything else
I'm
you'd like to
doing-
communicate to HF.
Yeah. No, I say we're coming in hot. I express thanks. I call off. I don't necessarily call off the distraction. I guess it still might come in handy in the the unlikely event someone can come through. I convey this to the group: the pros, which are many, the cons, which include being briefly exposed, and the relative unclarity of what it will mean when we scrungle down in this place.
I make a face like I tasted something sour when you use the phrase scrungle down.
Fair.
If we had another option, I might take it, but, if the friend of yours vouches for the Scrungler, gosh, it would be easy to turn us all in right now and just make somebody very rich.
Unclear whether
But
we
we
have
need
a
somewhere to
bounty
lay down.
yet, but yet.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
Can I-
Adam. HF has never done us dirty. This is a pretty trustworthy person. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've sort of vaguely established, but I'll go ahead and concretely establish now that you've had something of a cordial working relationship with HF for a while. No major favors exchanged, but they've never been anything but honest. And the worst you could say is that their solutions are often not exactly what the situation calls for.
We may not want to stay permanently. I can't vouch for exactly how things are going to get if the bounty becomes truly astronomical or something, but as a baseline level of trustworthiness, the worst I can say is, sometimes you end up in a place run by a guy called the Scrungler.
Well, my vote's yes.
Haru speaks up and
Let's
goes,
go.
I have some trepidation, but more curiosity, I suppose.
I point to Haru as if to say that.
I also, at the same time, am pointing to Haru and give you a, petulant teenage get out of my head look.
Tama sort of makes a thoughtful noise and goes, well, it doesn't sound like the weirdest place or the weirdest person I'll have stayed over with, so, I'll make do.
I quirk an eyebrow and look in her direction.
She gives you a sort of crooked smirk and sidelong glance and says, we were all in college once, right?
My silence suggests otherwise.
I will respond to that with, yes, once.
She glances at you and goes, or one day.
Oh, no. I'm in year 4, if you look at my class credits.
She goes, yeah, of high school.
I give her a considering look and probably for the first time notice the welts on her head and reach into my first aid kit and pull out a instant cold pack, crack it, and then pass it to her.
Mm-hmm. She looks at it blankly for a moment, and then the penny drops and she's, thanks, and presses it to the one sort of just above the orbit of her eye.
Yeah, if it's possible to smuggle in a neurologist sooner rather than later, that's probably a good idea. I mean, I've learned a fair bit about flesh horticulture at this point, but brains are complicated, and basically you're just not supposed to jiggle them too much.
That's a pretty good summary, actually. I'm not a doctor either, though.
Yeah, well, jiggling too much and it hurts like a bitch, and you get kind of loopy and uncoordinated, and, well, not the first or the worst time I've been concussed. Haru looks at her with a little bit of awe and mixed with trepidation as you all proceed through the basements.
I think a safe place where nobody's going to get shot with anything else is probably the first step.
Mm-hmm.
I do pass my riot shield off to Tama.
She takes it, sort of carrying it very naturally, not a new piece of hardware to her. So,
wish I had a helmet.
Tama sort of chuckles and goes, been thinking about just trying to get armored skull augments or something, but I don't think anybody makes them yet.
I rap on the side of my head and allow the metallic noise to speak for itself.
She chuckles and just says, I guess that's one way to do it.
Not a pleasant way.
Yeah, didn't think so.
If we come through this and I get a chance to speak with Gorrister, I might inquire as to whether it's possible to make a new face out of my arm, so I'll report back.
Tama stares at you for a moment like she's looking for the punchline, and then sort of takes in, the totality of your full body prosthetic and goes, some people get new haircuts.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll probably need one of those too.
You proceed. you have a little while traipsing through the basements while you look for a likely spot for a safe exit, but there doesn't seem to be any immediate heat like following you through the basements. It seems as though enough chaos has been caused, and quite possibly that the furor with which Law Zero contributed to the op has sort of made them a bit of a focus here. And so in the immediate sense, you've made a clean getaway.
I do reach out to Allie for an update.
Mm-hmm. Well, so previously, we had Allie go dark.
Okay, cool.
This doesn't necessarily mean that you can't reach out, just that I wanted to make sure that you were essentially requesting that, Allie like kind of be active on one of the means of communication at this time.
No, I had forgotten that. Let's let Allie stay dark. Did I also request that of K and B? Because I don't remember.
No,
then
you
I'll
had not
check with
requested that of
K&B.
K and B. Yeah.
Inquire as to news and K&B's own health and safety. And once I do receive an update, then I will advise K&B to also both go dark and retroactively establish an alibi for the last while.
Mm-hmm. So, K&B has been keeping abreast of, sort of the goings on. She's also been handling the dissemination of information, whereas part of the reason you'd asked Allie to go dark is because they had been doing more of the brute force,
yes.
Sort of criminally culpable kinds of things. So K&B reports largely sort of information chaos. The fact of the, sort of distraction at the park, as well as the op at Goliath, both of those things, right, have attestation, some degree of like social media attention. Media attention rapidly goes to focus on Goliath because there's explosions. Between the two of them, they seem to have elided a lot of discussion of people hearing thunder, though, that presumably will also get processed at some point. But on the one hand, K&B has been sort of seeding, posting, and disseminating, footage, information as broadly and safely as she's able, and that has complicated things for the official narrative, which is not coming into focus very, very quickly, which is an accomplishment in and of itself. But there's some nebulous idea that terrorists have hit a security installation in the uptown part of the station for reasons unknown. Station security, along with 2 riot suppression tanks, were deployed to the area. Androids were involved. There were bombings, but there's not a lot of consensus yet as to what the actual events were. It's kind of still an ongoing situation. A lot of the information is coming from more social media and people, streamers sending up camera drones, and just kind of speculating. Reporters on the scenes don't have a lot of good information because they're limited to official channels essentially. And the kind of emerging narrative remains chaotic for now, though she does point out that there is a particular detail that has been sort of catching people's attention is the sort of testimony of this. K&B describes her as like an Australian beach babe, who was thrown out of the window by one of the terrorists and only saved by, her quick thinking and use of augments. Rather vague, what that might mean. But is telling anybody who points a camera at her, about how, the terrorists were taking hostages using human shields, and seemed to be trying to, break other dangerous criminals out of temporary detention before they could be transported to station security. Thus making Goliath look, sort of unfairly targeted here as just the sort of innocent middlemen. She has also been expressing concern that no one seems to have heard from her uncle yet, Barlow Hawthorne.
I wish I used her more as a shield.
Retroactively, I do relay this information to everyone else.
Sure,
Sure.
So yeah, I let her know that alibi is probably useful to have to hand, and I'll be in touch.
She gives you a little saluting emoji and then says, "In the meantime, go in dark." And then your conversation disappears.
Yep.
All right.
I also do check in with Matchstick to make sure that we call in the fire, but not before it happens. Be a little suspicious if we did that too soon or not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our insurance policy is almost certainly through Archon or one of their subsidiaries in their cartel all day, so that'll be interesting. But one thing at a time.
If there's anything else we want to handle sort of in real time in transit, now is a good time. Otherwise, we can time lapse the remainder of our journey, I think. Cal?
I think I'm going to make some rounds amongst the team to check in on their supplies, inventory them, make sure that they're whole and hale. Obviously while maintaining movement, it's not going to be a prolonged conversation, just taking stock, since I realized I kind of locked in too much on firing on the Goliath goons and clearly lost some of the action or missed some of the action. And then I save burn for last, because, clearly doing other things when I start doing this with the rest of the team. Did you get anything good from their systems?
I don't know because I didn't get it. I outsourced. We'll check in after.
Good. I'd like to have some.
However,
bomb.
The good that we did get from their systems is that they don't have a system anymore.
Wouldn't have it any other way. Good job, kid. And let me know what you drum up. I would like to be able to counter some of this media with the release of certain files.
Of course. Yeah, I'm sure that there are many who would be happy to assist in that.
Yeah, what good is toppling a giant if they don't hit the ground?
Best they hit the ground and hard, yeah.
So, at length, you find a basement exit that is not in plain view of, but is relatively close to a fairly busy sort of like transit interchange. and figure that's probably the best opportunity you're going to have. So
to the degree
carefully,
that basement dweller plays into that, feel free to account for it.
yes, definitely keeping it in consideration here. So carefully, you check out the area, and then your group relatively quickly gets out of the basement, sort of loop through the crowd, and then off towards the Scrunglers. It's not that long of an over surface, I guess, because it's not technically land, journey to the Scrunglers' neck of the woods. You traveled a fair distance through the basements, and ultimately it's a big station. It's not that big a station in absolute terms, though it can take a while to traverse entirely on foot, but you've made it a decent chunk of the way, and seems best to avoid transit for the moment. So you make it the rest of the way on foot. When you're close, Cato, you get a message from HF that says, all right, just arrived. Let me know when you're inbound. You did not necessarily know that they were going to be there.
I convey this to the group, both that it is a surprise and that it's happening. And yeah, let HF know that we're inbound.
Mm-hmm. So you arrive on the block and see, yep, that sure is like a block of warehousing. And following previously established descriptions via conversation with HF, you make your way around to where there is an out of the way repurposed fire escape, and sort of quickly and carefully get everybody up. The roofs are not in especially clear view of most places, but it's a densely built station, so everybody stays low and moves quickly. Sort of towards the middle, where you see that there is housing for an HVAC unit that has had a door put in place of the intake grill, and that door is currently cracked partway open, and HF is leaning out and sort of gesturing you furtively in with a somewhat manic grin on their face. Now, Cato, you have not met HF in person, though you are aware of some of the elements of their description. They are a relatively tall and solidly built, mostly unaugmented human with a very dramatic side shave and tattoos of fanciful snakes from wrist to shoulder on both arms. Because of this, no matter the weather, they never aren't wearing a tank top. And their demeanor is what I might call friendly manic, at least in this moment. So as everybody gets close, HF sort of pushes the door further ajar and gestures everyone in like a coach motioning players into the locker room. Into what is interesting because you immediately go down a brief ramp and then are on the top of some scaffolding, below which there is a column. It's probably about close to square, 25 to 30 feet on a side, that goes all the way down, definitely past where the ground floor of the warehouses it's carved from would be, in sort of like messy mezzanines. There is like a narrow view all the way down, but a lot of the space in there is taken up by floor and subdivided unpredictably with wall, but very little ceiling. There is weak but warm electric lighting coming from all sorts of different fixtures placed somewhat haphazardly. And the main feature of the space is scrap. There's broken down anything and everything, kind of sort of sorted, but seemingly according to some arcane and possibly eldritch system that the mortal mind cannot immediately apprehend. Very echoey as you're coming in, because there's basically no soft surfaces anywhere in the space. And it is not cavernously open, but it is open. Your host is not immediately in evidence, which may do something to explain HF's presence as a bit of a base coach, I guess.
Really appreciate your help. We're in a tight spot, and you've exposed yourself to some risk that we've done our best to minimize it, so we appreciate it.
Well, I'm just happy to finally be able to help, says HF and gives you a toothy grin. My normal gig is not all that exciting, but you all seem to get up to all sorts of fun things, and, well, glad to be here.
Things are rarely boring when we're around, so would we be stepping on anybody's toes if I use some of this scrap to, make something a little more useful?
Far as I'm aware, that's what it's there for, but, the scrungler should be around here somewhere. Hold on. And HF kind of leans over the nearest railing and goes, "Scrungoid! Guests!" To which a voice drifts up from lower levels that says, "Yeah, you told me. I'll be there in a minute."
No.
And HF sort of shrugs and says, "Well, I know Hecate here by reputation and through other channels than in person, but it's good to finally meet you. I'm HF. If you need reptiles smuggled on Grand Cross, I'm a pretty good place to start. Who else do I have the pleasure of meeting?"
Please make your acquaintance.
Likewise. You're huge.
Yeah, I don't keep a low profile, even when I'm trying to.
Well, nice to make your acquaintance. Love the hand, by the way.
Yeah, me too. It's passion project.
I can tell. In the absence of other player characters immediately jumping in, Tama will just kind of give a tired wave and go, "The hell, you can call me Tama. I'm a little out of it, but nice to meet you."
I just look at Tama incredulously with a very, "we're going to have to talk."
She looks at you blankly for a moment and then gives a one-shouldered shrug and kind of looks away. HF basically goes, "Oh, good to meet you." Cal?
I also looked at Tama, completely missing Burns' stare that expresses the same thing, and go, "I'm the Revenant. Do you need me to take a look at you?" And the latter question is directed to Tama.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, probably not a great time to go to a hospital, so appreciate whatever you can do. Looks around for a spot and then just kind of plops down in kind of a little cul-de-sac in the scrap.
Oh, shit. The first thing I do is pop open my first aid kit.
Sure. If you want to go ahead while we're talking about it and roll some field medicine, we can help Tama out here. So that'll be a clever roll for a total of 2d6 plus 4.
I got a 9, so 13.
Okay. Credit where it's due. Cato has not spent the kind of time that you might, need to really, kind of help somebody through this stage of a concussion, but has done everything that reasonably could be done in the situations you were in. So you start to, do a little bit more of diagnostic work with Tama, figuring out, exactly how, alert and responsive she is, and kind of getting the process of downtime help with a concussion started.
Yeah, I probably check the pupillary reaction time with a pen light. Make sure that one's not larger than the other, have her press against my hands to make sure there's not an imbalance in strength. Also check to make sure there's no clear fluid coming out of her ears or nose, sort of the standard thing before making an offhanded comment of, well, don't nod off or don't go to sleep.
Right. Fortunately, she's sluggish, but not, showing any of the more extreme signs. Definitely don't want her nodding off, but if she doesn't get to emergency care right away, she should still be okay.
I guess you better stick close to me.
Gladly.
You handled yourself real nicely back there.
Back at you, kiddo.
I walk by with an armful of scrap, and that's a very large armful given on me, and I say, we discussed the no napping rule. Stay close, you two.
To HF, I will say, I'm Matchstick.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance. And right,
I'm disappointed that I am not recognized. But I make no particular show of that.
I'm sure I notice, but
yeah.
There's little I can do.
I was going to say, there are people in Kato's fixer decks who would recognize that name.
Yeah.
And probably be impressed. HF, not the one.
Hacking and reptile smugglery. Yeah.
Haru, sort of waves and says, "Hi," and HF goes, "Right, no, I've heard of you." To which Haru looks a little bit at a loss as to how to respond, and Rikarth sort of is finally taking off his balaclava and just kind of like shaking his head, and he goes to introduce himself, and HF goes, "Oh my God, I saw you guys just a little while ago at the riot." Rikarth sort of looks a little bashful and says, "Hope you enjoyed the show, I suppose." To which HF gives another trademark sort of toothy smile. We of course also have Rikarth's cargo, the anonymous and as yet insensate prisoner. We established last time this person seems to have been drugged in some way. Breathing is steady, no special warning signs of medical distress, but also just at this point seeming like they might be technically comatose. Not entirely clear. But Rikarth sets about trying to make them comfortable as best he can, while he also carefully, securely tries to get in touch with his bandmates and see how all that is going. HF, in the meantime, sort of doesn't follow Kato around while you're sort of putting together a space, but does kind of like pivot to follow your movements, and keeps up just sort of like a energetic friendly patter, basically describing some of the features might be the wrong word, characteristics of this location. and sort of reporting on what they've like heard, of goings on, as an onlooker from outside of your various activities, trying to kind of give you maybe a little bit more of the sort of perspective that K&B was offering earlier, if less systematic, in doing so. But after just a couple of minutes, you do hear the humming of a low power electrical motor, and a small sort of platform elevator rocks to a stop a couple of levels down from where you all currently are. But using the momentum of the stop, its rider, occupant, sort of swings around and up a support, grabbing onto the rail of the level below yours, planting his feet on that rail, and then jumping up to grab the floor that you are on, and then sort of sliding onto it before rolling to a standing position. However, coming up very red-faced and winded.
Oh no, it's bad.
You didn't get that from the voice?
I got it from the voice, but this is just confirmation to my fear.
I just heard a second shoe drop. It's weird.
So the Scrungler spins a moment, catching his breath, and then stands up straight. He appears to be aging somewhat gracelessly out of his 30s, but dresses rather like I did in my senior year of high school. Baggy jeans and a too large shirt that seems to have been sourced from maybe like a Kmart clearance rack. It's got, like a graphic on it that is a little inscrutable. Just, features a colorful picture of like a crowbar and a crate, and has a sort of cheerful block font in white above and below that says Elite Crowbar Skills. He's got sort of like a messy mop of hair and sort of like grease smudges in various places on his hands and face. But as he catches his breath, sort of stands up and like, kind of limbers his neck and says, "All right, welcome guests. Glad this place finally came in handy. I'm sure we can get to introductions or whatever. Looks like you're making yourself at home, which is great. Scrap's only good when someone's doing something with it.
Appreciate the space, appreciate the scrap, appreciate the discretion. The Scrungler, I presume."
Absolutely. That's me. And this is my casa.
The Mojo Dojo Casa House.
And he sort of looks around at your group and is like, "Oh, wow, you guys have kind of been through the ringer." And then sort of like on a second pass, sees Hahi kind of like leaning against a wall and goes, "Oh, wow. I haven't really been exposed to hot criminals. Welcome." To which Hahi kind of makes a little bit of a face and goes, "Right. Well, I guess we're out there. Thanks for giving us a place to lay low for a bit. Very generous of you." He goes, "Well, I'm noted in certain circles for my generosity and in others for my mad parkour skills." She kind of gives him a look like, is that the end of the statement? And then he kind of coughs and goes, "All right, well, I guess, let me know if there's anything you need. My scrap is your scrap. Not a whole lot to eat, really, but, a lot of the time I'll just, trade something to HF for like some takeout or whatever. There's some pretty good places around here. So I guess let me or them know if there's anything you need." He seems to be getting more and more self-conscious the longer he tries to keep this conversation going.
The work sweet arm does a hang loose gesture with audible service.
He gives you a big grin and like returns it. I think I may have talked over somebody. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, good on you, Scrungler. Thank you for the digs, and look forward to making ourselves at home until the heat dies down a little bit. But thank you for being here and for doing this. It's not a small thing.
He gives you double finger guns. Goes, thank you for sticking it to the man, Australian android.
I'm honestly now just imagining Keanu Reeves from Bill and Ted.
Yep.
And feeling weirdly better about this scenario.
I was going to say at least twice as old as Keanu Reeves is in Bill and Ted, but
true.
In the third Bill and Ted, maybe.
There you go. Yeah. So after a brief awkward silence following that, he's like, right, well, junk dealing and scrapping waits for no man. I'll be down toward the bottom if you need me. But if you need me, all you got to do is yell. Sound carries real well. Right. That reminds me. Bathroom is on the middle floor. Set it up as well as I could, but there's only really a curtain. So like maybe let somebody know if you're like headed that way so that they like know. And like if you're prone to an upset stomach, just like be careful, I guess, what you eat, because like there's not a lot of sound dampening. Right. Catcha. And then goes over the rail and like slides down, like a support for a little ways, lands back on his little elevator, and then the low power electrical motor whirs back up and moves him at a modest pace back down levels until he's not easy to see from where you're standing.
I slowly sink to the ground next to Tama, staring off into the middle distance, and wordlessly pass her a water bottle.
She nods at you thankfully and goes, so, hang on, who knew that guy?
A friend of a friend, I suppose.
She nods and kind of gets a little bit of a more focused yet far away look in her eyes and goes, thankfully, I'm well past that point in my life.
Well past it.
So, you all have an opportunity to settle into your temporary safe house. Kato, you are able to, there's nothing if not space, especially if you're willing to move some scrap around to make it. And so
I welcome the distraction. I am not thinking about the frontispiece, or at least I'm trying not to. I am not thinking about the Scrongler, or at least I'm trying not to. I am just working on stuff. The quiet and what darkness there is broken by welding and clattering and so on every so often.
Yeah, and it takes you a good little bit, but you do get it set up such that, you have basic, working tools. HF is on hand for a little while after that to, sort of keep you company, help out a little bit, just seems to enjoy the company and being close to the action, but eventually does regretfully say that they have somewhere to be, and then sort of as they're heading up to the rooftop entrance goes, and if anybody needs a non-venomous snake or other lizard,
out of character me.
You know where to find me. You don't know where, but you know how to find me.
We do, and you'll be the first we call should it come up. But thanks for the moment for the, Viper's Den, if you will.
They chuckle and kind of give you a nod, and it's like, well, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully not the last time we work together, though you do seem to need things that aren't reptiles a lot of the time, which does limit the overlap. But
it's tragic, I know.
Well, one day you'll get lonely and you'll want an iguana to keep you company, and then I'll be there. Big sort of, grin with chuckles, and then they're gone. You can hear the sounds of the Scrungler going about his business below, and you have some
A great
quiet-ish
scrungling from
time.
beneath.
When up from the basement, there rose such a scrungle.
And I rose from my
I
bed
ran to
to
the
say,
slow elevator to
Jesus
see
Christ,
what was
what's
the
the matter?
trungle. Well, I didn't really think that we'd have a chance to get a problem solved by them that an iguana couldn't solve, but here we are.
I don't know. Maybe I'll be in the market for a pet reptile in the future. Are you doing okay,
What, me?
Kato? Mm-hmm.
I sit down on what kind of looks like a chair. It's a form of seating where someone could do work on a body that needed to be seated to be done work on. Probably more of the machine type than the fleshy type. I lean my head back against what passes for a headrest and say, I'm mourning some physical media. Feel silly for that. Some of that stuff, definitely the only copy on Grand Cross, maybe the only copy left. So that's bad. Probably mourning another home, another life. Kind of liked this one.
Yeah. Let yourself mourn. Just don't let it consume you.
It's good advice. It's going to have to consume me and burn me into somebody new, I guess.
Yeah, well, we didn't sign up for easy getting into this, did we?
No. We're all alive. We rescued who we meant to rescue, so, the rest is a bitter iguana gravy.
Yep. Just lay low for a while and, they're not going to catch up to us, but if they do, blame me. I coerced you. There's a lot of nice evidence to that, so I'll at least get a few sentences taken off.
It may come to that, but that kind of sounds suspiciously like hero talk. We're not doing the hero thing. We're in this together.
We are, but I'm telling you that, I should legally take the fall. It's not hero business. Practicality.
If you want to get practical, Cato Burke, the extremely recognizable bookshop owner who is about to disappear, never to be seen again, should probably take the fall.
No. You have been harassed and coerced by a former cop from how long now?
Oh, my whole life. You mean you specifically?
Yeah.
Sure.
Kind of, I should have clarified that point. And probably should have picked that up from previous conversations.
I don't mean to unload trauma that has nothing to do with you onto you.
Kiddo,
Known one or two good cops, actually. Believe
as
it or not.
you say that bit, your incoming text message alert blips, and Professor Kulex Intwistle has boomer texted you in all caps with no punctuation. Frontispiece on fire, you okay? What happened?
It's probably about time to call in the fire.
I definitely do that. And also respond and say, everybody's safe. Texts irreplaceable. Ellipsis. 3 ellipses like in a JRPG.
A somewhat calmer text comes back from Entwistle, though this is relative because it says, I think it was IMX that set the fire. Saw their drones poking around. We should sue! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
There was more than one tragedy in Weimar, Germany.
He responds. He responds with the praying man emoji and no further explanation.
I've injured the GM with a callback. My night is complete.
Well earned, genuinely.
Well, as far as anyone knows, Aunt Whistle told us about the fire. Anyway, whatever. There's a paper trail. I guess I can't have died in the fire now is the only downside. We'll have to figure something else out.
Yeah.
You could be on the
I'm
run.
sure the kid's cooking up something.
There's enough going on right now that I'm sure we can conjure some kind of way for me to have... Anyway, one thing at a time. I think this time I want a different voice. Had this one for a while. It was a busted part, but I don't know. I have a certain affection for it.
How's character? What are you thinking about going with?
That's a good question. To be honest, I haven't really thought about it. I've never been this used to being who I am. Feels strange. But you can't get too attached, I guess.
No. And maybe the next identity will be even closer to who you are.
Yeah, that's the hope. That's how you figure it out. How I am trying, anyway.
Yeah, well, if there's anything I can help with, I suddenly find myself bereft of a list. Mostly.
I was gonna...
Max Broderick is technically still being a little shit out there, but...
You've done really well, though. How are you doing? I'm told it's not easy. You know, there's a certain melancholy to setting yourself an impossible task and then doing it.
I think I figured some things out. Namely, maybe that moving forward isn't necessarily forgetting, it's just making space for new things to matter.
Glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, we'll see if any of us get away with this long enough to make it count.
Don't like our odds, but so far I like our results.
We can't argue with the results.
Thanks, Kel.
Anytime.
If there's anything in the immediate term before, we start letting time pass more quickly that needs to be done, by all means, now's a good time to do it. Otherwise, there is no specific limit on the term of your habitation here. Presumably it is not especially comfortable and you may wish to be investigating relocation options, but we can begin to accelerate the timeline. So things that you wish to do in the order perhaps of urgency or priority can come up as you wish them to.
Feel like for
Kennedy?
takeout, I make a special request for Cajun hot sake, and by the time it arrives, it's just beer.
Mm-hmm. If you give any meaningful identifying information at all, Sim will probably come to deliver it himself. Despite it being well out of his delivery range. But he saw the he saw the frontispiece on fire, and frankly, if it's okay with you, I'll fiat that the amount of time between your arrival at the Scrungler's place and your ordering of izakaya po' boy food and beverages is enough that Sim will not only bring your order himself, but show you pictures of the funeral that he got some people together to hold for the frontispiece on the street outside the building.
Was IMX in attendance?
You could see some blurry pictures of drones in the background, but seems to have mostly been a cathartically goofy, if also heartfelt kind of time among a number of students and a few local business owners
Lovely.
like Sim.
When I need a break from setting up our workshop, which my goal is to sort of power through and make sure we can do all the basics here, as well as have a relatively private space since people are coming and going. I take breaks and engage in some therapeutic pettiness, posting on some semi-plausible sock puppets, insinuations that IMX definitely torched the frontispiece.
Not putting undue pressure on this, but because I think it's fun, I'd love to get a roll from you.
Sure.
Clever plus criminal underworld for 2d6 plus 5. Just to get an impact number in terms of your sock puppet posting.
I'm going to take advantage on this roll because it's also plausible deniability. I am attempting to build a case. That is 8 plus 5 is 13.
All right. You've never been a social media maven, I guess maybe a good word for it. But you are proud of the work that you do, fueled by the loss of your business and the things that were held there, as well as your relative bounty of free time once you get kind of everything set up, and it doesn't exactly make the evening news, but certainly spreads throughout social media circles that there's at least suspicions of IMX malfeasance here, which seems like a job pretty well done to you.
Excellent. If anyone's talking about, jack-booted, book-burning goons, then I'll it was an hour well spent.
You see at least one very amateurish illustration of one of the IMX drones, but its wheels are now sort of like a cartoon, sort of circle of jackboots, sort of foregrounded in front of a very cartoonish fire.
I reposted on multiple sock puppets on the network that it was posted on, and then I cross-posted on 2 or 3 others. Then I get back to work.
There is a chance, if not an extremely significant one, that this might become a meme format.
Yes. Immortality is at hand. Anyway, I go back to work. I get off the internet.
For my part, I'd like to help Cato to set up the shop because I think that we've both got some work that we want to do. And we can dip in briefly for in-character conversation because I'm curious, Cato, seems like you've got a particular project in mind.
Yeah, well, I can't look anything like me, at least in the particulars that are most recognizable. I tap the big arm with the small arm. The patchwork face has probably got to go too, way too recognizable. I don't know. Actually, since we're setting up, what do you need to do, I look down at Hand. Your stuff. It's never occurred to me till right now that I could, well, I was going to say go backwards, but that's not what I mean. Go in the other direction.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really sure whether or not my long-term plans is to mix with human society again. Because you're right, I'm almost or just as recognizable as you are. There's not many robots with biological hands, and not so many with large combat frames.
At least not with large combat frames not engaged in combat. Yeah, that's unusual.
Yeah. But I was thinking that probably my first step is to go kind of in the opposite direction. You're looking to change the shell. I'm looking to expand beyond it. Neurologically connecting with the drones at my disposal. So that they're an extension of me, or maybe I'm an extension of them.
This knocks me on my ass enough that I do actually put down what I'm holding and sit down. I say, so your immediate plan is to transcend the limits of minds as we understand them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be the first, I don't think. Trans, not so different. Began linked to their brethren and kind of moved beyond it as a kind of central nervous system connected to the periphery. So I'm not doing this because of Tran, but I feel like it's showing me a different way of being. And I've never quite felt like I fully belong among androids, and certainly it's clear that I don't belong amongst humans. At least there's certain humans that feel that way, and that's the prevailing attitude on the station.
I was just going to interject that as this conversation is going on, I find it very likely that the 24 drones that you currently have, as your sort of like swarm, are essentially like roosting around the upper levels of the Scrungler's space, sort of in the vicinity of this conversation, just to set the scene for our listeners a little bit. Do carry on.
God,
Yeah,
sounds
I
like
lean
the
my head
Crow
back again, and I'm
robots.
kind of looking up at them. Yeah, like they're looking up at the roost. And I say, that's a hell of a thing. Look, I don't want to cheapen what you are or what you're doing or what they're doing with cliche words, but whatever you're doing, you're good at it. And you're good. I don't know if you ever doubt that anymore, but you are. And it's a privilege to know you. It'll be a privilege to know you in whatever form you take next, even and especially if it's incomprehensible to the likes of me.
Thank you. That means a lot. I don't think of myself as good. That might come in the future or it might not, but I've come gradually, at least to the point where I accept that I am. I had thought of myself as quite a lot less than good, but I don't think that's accurate. I am. We'll see what comes next.
You were dealt a rough hand, and for a while you played it well, and then you invented a new kind of hand.
Yeah. Well, I'm still very much a neophyte on my own kind of spiritual journey, but an interesting thing came up in my brief study of Buddhism. It seems like one of the main themes is the only constant is change, and that there's some rejection of the idea that there's some quintessential self, that we're all just kind of an amalgamation that's ever changing, and some pain can come from trying to hold on to what we thought we were and resisting what we're becoming and what we could be. Which is neither here nor there. It's just background noise.
No, I know what you mean. I'm running my fingers over the parts of my face that are fully patchwork, where the seams are. I don't know. I don't know if we're Theseus or if we're the ship, but I don't even know how to complete that thought, really.
Well, I think that it'll be kind of, in a way I'll miss this outer shell, gestures to the outsides of you. But on the other hand, I feel like if the outsides change, it gives a chance to get to know who you are.
Yeah.
Not just what you
Look,
look
I
like.
don't claim to know so much about Buddhism, I guess, but from what I understand, my desire to hang on is a flaw I should be working on. I should be ready for change. I should be ready to let go, but I mean, if I'm totally honest with myself, I'm just not. I'd love somewhere to land, someone to be. I don't know. Maybe I'll transcend like you someday. Maybe you'll show us all the way. whatever you're coming up with, it's got to be better than, well, a lot of people got going.
What has Byrne been up to during all of this?
Eavesdropping.
At a very high level,
off
I'm
in
sure.
the corner.
Yeah. I just pictured Bird perched up with the drone.
That is correct.
in the
I was
rocket.
actually about to say that.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
It's a burn. It's a drone. Sorry.
I notice the eavesdropping, and after giving another glance in Tama's direction, get up to my own feet, giving her a squeeze on the shoulder as I do so, and walk over to near where they are, but not directly next to them, making it very clear that I hope that they'll come over to where I am. On my way, I also probably make eye contact with Kato, point to my eyes, and then point at Tama, making it clear that keep an eye out.
I begin milling around with the scrap much closer to where Tama is, and I do, in fact, keep an eye out, make sure no napping is occurring.
Mm-hmm.
And no obvious fluids are coming from anywhere they shouldn't be, or anything like that. Conversation with Ing has me having bodies on the mind, so I'm vigilant.
I was just being like, there's corn syrup coming out of her fingertips. Like,
Texting
Horrible,
first aid
thank
kitten
you.
furiously. What does corn syrup out of the fingertips mean?
presumably,
This is the worst thing that could happen.
I was going to say, presumably it means that she's secretly been a Stretch Armstrong toy this whole time.
Oh, gosh.
That would explain her resilience until
Yeah.
until not, I suppose. Yeah.
I will not quite scuttle, but that's sort of, I think, the general impression goes for those who actually can observe me, and make my way sort of as surreptitiously as I can to where Cal is.
When I see you coming, I do move further out of ear range from the rest, but not before I give you a look, a nod, and half a quirked lip smile.
If anything, I look more nervous.
So, I couldn't help but notice you gave your, I make air quotes as I say this, real name to Slag Pie.
Yeah?
I wasn't trying to piece anything together. But when you were missing, I worked a particular job. I heard a particular name. And I find myself in a bit of a gray area.
I should go.
Wait. I'm not going to tell anyone. It's just, I find myself without a list, without, aside from our immediate survival, anything to focus on. How can I help?
Forget the name.
Consider it done, but
I have worked
know, I guess-
so fucking hard to be more than the helplessness of that name.
and you are. I just know what giving your current name likely means. And if you would entertain an old woman giving you some unsolicited advice, I want to see you stop running if you can, and if you're running from something, maybe accept some help.
Once I've burnt the past, and there you have the origin of the name, then I can start on a present.
And who do you want to be in the present?
That's a bridge I haven't crossed yet.
So, what I would advise is that every time you shed a name, an identity, you think you're being reborn. You're not. Just leaving corpses of yourself in your own wake.
I know I'm not being reborn. This isn't Christianity.
No. Thank God it's not.
I'm shedding skins.
Maybe. I just worry that someone your age is too busy running away from things that you don't realize you're losing some of the best years of your life.
They're only the best years of your life if they're good years.
And how can I help you get there? I mean,
What do you want,
know
Cal?
what happened? What do you mean?
What do you want? In general, and in particular with me. I have been terrible to you, both purposefully and inadvertently. And I've barely apologized for either. And yet here you are trying to make things better for me. And I don't understand.
Yeah, well, I haven't exactly been a ray of sunshine to you. Do you know what happened to your parents?
Yes.
And?
They won't be coming to get me anytime soon.
And I suppose you want that bridge burnt as well?
That bridge is buried. Or, well... yes, buried, sure. You've avoided my question.
What do you think I want?
I have no grasp on what you might want. You are frustratingly inscrutable.
I guess you haven't figured it out.
No. For so many values of it. So, like, take pity on a fake kid?
I'm just surprised you missed the moment I stopped running from something and started running towards it instead, because I sure as hell did. So, what I want is the same for you. You running towards something. It doesn't have to fucking be me. I know I'm not easy to be around, but
you're saying that you're an
we
option.
get through this. I suppose so.
Is this the world's most oblique offer of adoption? Because you may have to also talk to Kato about it.
At this moment, I come by with a pile of parts, say, "Don't let me interrupt. These look like routers. Signal's terrible in here. Okay, carry on."
No, stay. I think Cal has a question for you.
Sure. I'm keeping an eye on Tama, but we're not too far away.
Kid, what the hell?
Just reminding you that I'm also a little shit.
Yeah. Well, I have a long list of reminders, not the least of which is you playing the audio.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, well, I've kind of realized since then it was an accident, so you're water under the bridge.
Did I just witness an apology pass between you two? Am I about to witness a murder?
No.
I think... Well, do you want me to ask Byrne? Or are you just being a little shit?
I can do two things at once.
Part of what you were hired for, actually. And we should talk about, well...
the terms of our contract?
You don't exactly have a place of employment anymore, so I guess you don't really have an employment anymore, form of employment anymore. You just, you just got me. If you want to, I mean. And whoever I end up being, so,
This is where I give Cal a pointed look.
I was not starting this conversation with the intention of asking to adopt you.
I'm sorry, wait, what?
I point at Byrne.
Like I said, world's most oblique offer of adoption. I said Cal would have to talk to you first.
Because Cal is maybe beating my record, you mean?
What record?
For the world's most oblique offer.
Huh.
No, because you have first claim.
Well, I'm not going to go on a whole rant, but nuclear families are bullshit. You're going to need as much, we're all going to need as much anything as we can get. So, I'm in, if you two are.
This is fucking awkward.
I feel like Ing should be here, to be perfectly honest. What with the non-nuclear structure and all.
Yeah, probably.
Is it?
I will address that to one of the drones.
There is a loud pong as the Scrungler vaults over the rail up to this level and goes, "Hey, don't mind me. I'm just taking delivery of some churros. Sorry." And power walks towards the ladder up to the door, has a brief conversation, and then comes back in with a plastic bag and kind of gives an awkward left-handed salute as he hops back over the rail onto the elevator and back down.
You see what I mean? It takes a village.
Bury my face in my hands.
In this interim, Ing, if you would like to have made your way over to this conversation, you may have done so.
Yeah, I'll say that I didn't have an active open feed spying on everything, but, my drones have enough automated intelligence that, they pick up on it. So a pigeon drone activates its propeller and flies off into another part of the complex. Ing appears a few minutes later.
So, in the broadest possible terms, we're discussing, well, two things, I suppose. The nature of togetherness and partnerships, and more concretely, what it looks like if we all survive this.
I pinch the bridge of my nose.
If you want to get more specific than that, I'm going to have to ask one of you two to actually say the word out loud.
Which family?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, family. I really don't know anything about family, but I feel like I've come to know something of love. And it's something that I feel in this group that we have. And nuclear, non-nuclear, family, or not technically, there's bonds here. And I sometimes underestimate how much I need that. Want that. Need that.
It can be
If
both.
it's both, then it's probably a good decision. Look, you're welcome at dinner no matter how many people you end up being, how diffuse your consciousness, how undefinable.
I'm just not going to cook for all of you.
Is that a promise, or?
I don't really make promises.
You won't cook for us unless you get really upset and cross.
Yeah. Which
Cool.
Seems like a pretty low bar.
Cook at us.
In your general direction. But I guess there is a promise I can make.
What's that?
I'll stick with you kids. As long as you help me believe I won't lose everyone I let myself care about.
Well, you've got me. I won't speak for the other two, but I can guess what they might say.
I mean, the promise you just made is the only one worth making, right? We don't know what this looks like, but we know it's going to be better if it's all of us. I know that.
Yeah. I guess I agree. We'll figure it out together. I'm not looking for a replacement, just a reason. And lately, you damn kids have been looking like that.
For what it's worth, as Cato can attest, I am awfully hard to get rid of.
I, for my part, can't guarantee that the person you care for now will stay as I am. I suspect that in some form or another, I'll be around for quite some time. I don't know if that's enough.
I think any form you'll take is still you, right?
As much as I am now.
Yeah, so I failed to see an issue.
Simple as that. Look, we're promising to stick together, not to always understand each other. Anybody who promises that's a liar. In your case, it might be a bit more extreme than with some, I'll grant you, but it's the same basic principle.
Well, hopefully the worst of the danger is behind us.
I doubt that.
We're very good at
Unlikely,
finding it.
Yeah. If we don't, I'm not sure that would be us.
That.
Valid.
Not a version I'd know how to recognize.
No, certainly not, now that we're all criminals.
Ah, yes, now that we're all
Oh my.
criminals.
I put my hand to my mouth as in mock surprise. Good golly gosh, criminals. Kind of a gesture.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the criminals are sometimes good company.
If that's a good place to zoom back out from the moment-to-moment conversation, we can assume perhaps that, chatting continues for a bit. Maybe eventually food is acquired over which the chatting can continue. I am taking things rather atemporally here, very much intended. If there are other things need doing, other conversations need having, this is a pretty good time for them as well, not to stack it too heavily on the, kind of character check-in stuff. I'll also, though, throw in there just, a few things to kind of give us a little bit of background here. Haru will, after, getting some sleep, give a little bit of a once over to the Scrungler's place, find enough in the way of cast off clothes to not be so instantly recognizable, and announce her intention to try and go check in on her dad, promising to be careful. In the interim, if there, I would assume here that there's probably some catching up, filling in, general chit chat, particularly with Burn.
Yeah.
And Haru will, also indicate her intention to, once she's sure that there's not any additional surveillance of her resources, send you along the, sort of promised pay, which I think you've gotten one or two installations of
One, I
since
believe.
the arrangement. Yeah. But then, we've spent a long time just on the one day, and,
We sure
she hasn't
did.
forgotten. Yeah. There's also, of course, Allie and K&B are staying dark for a little bit, but when they do come, back online in whatever form, Byrne, you had promised to, sort of repay them with favors. And so, that may be something to chat with them about in terms of their expectations. And this is a ways back, and I don't think it has been resolved, though I think it has come up once. Way back when, Ing, you had asked for Byrne's help in getting a message to Earth, and Byrne had been kind of looking into it, but
Yes.
Unallocated downtime was kind of hard to come by in between then and now, and so that could be something that we can do while you're laying low as well. Otherwise, I wanted to kind of also just sort of see, while you are trying to stay off the radar here, obviously the most sort of security minded thing you could do would be to very much
Start making everyone new fake IDs.
Mhm.
that. But I was going to say it would be to, not permit any, visitation that may not make for especially efficient storytelling, which is a trade-off I'll let you guys decide to make. But if permitted, there are at least a couple people who would drop by to catch up, check in, and coordinate. So I'll leave that, up to you guys as well as we sort of handle this amorphous blob of time. I'll also say that once Tama gets broadly cleared, for sort of independent function, she'll also want to head out, saying she has kind of her own place to lay low that she's wanting to check in on in her absence.
Mm-hmm. With regards to checking in on people and vice versa, we could certainly do that in person, but if there is a way to set up either a hologram if those exist or a video conference, then perhaps my drones could be intermediaries and set up a Ursat's telephone line.
Totally doable.
For a virtual visit.
Particularly, that kind of like VR chat-esque kind of thing we've used before can be used here as well. Particularly interested in coming by in person are Bronwy and Apatia. Rickarth will also eventually, want to head out to rendezvous with the rest of Slagpie. We can get into some of the debrief of, how things are kind of shaking out from that very busy day you all had on the other side of kind of enumerating the things we want to accomplish and the conversations that we want to have. That may be a good way to wind down this session. But just wanted to sort of throw some options out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like the idea of in-person visits for the sake of the narrative. And, also all three of those people that might want to check in with us in person are not new to crime. And so might know how to
They are at least somewhat security-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am also okay with in-person visits, though. I will note that whenever Tama gets up to go, it is very begrudging on my end that I let her leave.
Yeah. She does promise to check in with First Aid Kitten, if it helps you be more sanguine about it.
Yeah. And also, I have instruct her to message me at multiple points.
She agrees. Yeah. Not particularly begrudging in that case.
Also, this is a minor logistical thing that can probably wait till next time, but depending on how much time we have and how amorphous it is, I am looking to acquire a couple of new tags for my drones, if and when possible. Each one would cost 2 monies, and so that might not be feasible, but I'm looking for an upgraded sensor suite that can see through walls and whatnot, and stealthy modifiers.
Well, good news. You are literally sheltering in a scrapyard. So I was definitely going to handle that and Cato's projects sort of after a little bit of time had elapsed with sort of other more immediate concerns, but good to have on the docket for sure.
Okay.
So yeah, if permitted, Apatia will drop by, a couple days in. She seems to have been here before, does not need directions. She seems to know quite a few people in, various ways, shapes, or forms. And for better or for worse, the Scrungler seems to be one of them. And so she, makes her way and lets herself in, and sort of comes down the little ladder from the doorway vestibule, I guess I'd call it, and looks around, taking in Ing's drones, but then sort of looks around for you all. Ing happens to be the closest, and so is the one who is targeted for a sort of running, leaping hug, which is probably fortunate, as Ing is probably the best equipped to handle such a thing.
All right, I try to not squish too much, just enough to
Successfully.
feel loved.
Yeah.
Good eye. It's great to see you. Gosh, you're a sight for sore eyes.
Right? I was going to say that to you. I feel a lot better than the last time we talked. First Aid Kitten really helped, and I just got some rest. But I was worried about you all. Is everything okay? Are you how's hand?
Hand's all right. I give it a little wiggle.
She gives it a high five, and says, "Well, that's a relief. I heard about the frontispiece, and well, I knew you weren't there, but I was worrying anyway, and so I wanted to come and just, see everybody with my own eyes, and thank you for your help, and well, just see how you were doing. It's I don't know, I know a lot of people, but not many that are as interesting as, well, your whole." She trails off and then says very softly and sheepishly, "Family?"
The smile more in the voice than on the face.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could certainly say that. And, I dare say that, gosh, I hope you don't feel like a stranger amongst us because, well, whether you label it family or not, you're pretty interesting yourself. And,
She goes to give you like a little punch in the arm and it goes clang and she sort of lightly shakes her hand, plays it off.
After a brief awkward pause, come on in and see the rest. Sure they're dying to see you.
Everybody can catch up as they will with Apatia. She doesn't have too much to report, having spent some time convalescing. She found Canopus Hear You very interesting, and was very grateful toward First Aid Kitten, though First Aid Kitten's demeanor is much more subdued than Apatia's, so it seems like they didn't spend a whole lot of time having heart-to-hearts or anything. So if there's anything in particular, any of the group wants to chat about with Apatia while she's here, now's a good time.
I'll just name that out of character, unless there's specific things that you want to name. I do ask Apatia more about her own experiences, the phasing in and out of consciousness, her new explorations and the interface between dreamer, non-dreamer, the machine god. All of it is of great interest and a way for them to connect.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how much time that we have
Well, and she will,
for those specifics, or if you have them in mind.
She will talk at length, excitedly, reverentially, rhapsodically, even sometimes kind of vaguely and disjointedly about those experiences, because she has trouble putting them into words that are precise and communicate like more accessible information. She is eager to talk about her experiences, but they seem to be not just highly subjective, but experienced, particularly when she is interacting with the machine god through inputs that exist in her augments and not on bodies that the dreamers haven't messed with. So she retreats into abstraction a lot, or just asserts a conclusion without being able to really describe the experience that led her to it, which ineffability is core to a lot of religious experiences. Just they are not usually mediated by cybernetics. But she'll spend as much time as you want to. In fact, at one point, though, let's call it towards the winding down of that conversation, she will casually just kind of drop that. I'm pretty sure the dreamers are controlling the weather on the station now.
That's a thing. That's sure interesting. Do you mean that the thunder that was happening before was their doing?
Oh, sure. Well, it's also been unseasonably cool. And they've been trying to kind of downplay it, but the mirrors haven't been opening and closing on the set seasonal schedule. It's minor variations, but we haven't been getting longer and longer days like we should. We've been kind of going a couple minutes longer, a couple minutes shorter. Most people don't really notice, but if you are on the right forums, folks are tracking it.
That seems entirely intriguing and also concerning, depending on what their intentions are.
Yeah,
Some of my favorite people are biological.
mine too. Though not all of them. She elbows you, sort of in where a human's ribs would be, and then very surreptitiously rubs her elbow a little bit. And she says, well, maybe not a great thing for them to, necessarily be in charge of the life support, but they don't seem to have done any harm so far. Not that I can tell anyway, with just, the weather control they have. I mean, I'm assuming it's them. I don't have any concrete evidence, but it kind of makes sense, just, given the timing and the exact nature of the alterations.
Makes as much sense as anybody else doing it. All right. Well, that's enough to crack another day.
She, nods a little contemplatively, and hears the little lift motor start up and goes, I should probably get going. Not that this hasn't been great, but I don't know. The Scrungler and I didn't part on great terms. We're not enemies. He's fine with me being here, but anyway, I gotta go. And she just kind of like power walks toward the door.
Further lore drop on the Scrungler.
Yeah.
It's scrunglicated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the complication is chiefly going to be on Apacia's side, given the whole sex cult leader thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything is complicated for the Scrungler. I think it's
That, yeah, also
No,
that,
it's
yeah.
not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How drunk was Apacia? Never mind.
There has been some scrungling in their past.
Oh.
And we broke the jam briefly.
At some point during this,
Mhm.
I probably check in with maybe Ramirez,
Mm.
initially sending him just a thunderbolt and cloud emoji with a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
And then that shortly followed up after overhearing the conversation with Apacia with a NM period, figured it out, and a thumbs up emoji.
A little while after that second one, you get a reply from maybe Ramirez that is the like hourglass emoji followed by an ellipsis, which after a little bit of thought you take to mean like, hang on, I'll be in touch. You'd put like 70% odds on that being the intended message. Bronwyn takes a little longer to come by because she's trying to make sure that, she's no longer being considered a person of interest by IMX. And when she does drop by, she will, as part of the ensuing conversations, explain that she was there when IMX came by, and she explained that she was, being paid to essentially like house sit for the business while the proprietor and employees were out. She didn't know any particular details. She was just here to get paid, and she was told she could bring her cat. And so IMX through the medium of drones sort of press the issue, wouldn't really like, drop it or leave. So she did her best to like make it a casual question, be like, do you like have a warrant? And it turns out that they did. And so she was like, well, that's above my pay grade, so I'm gonna head out. And they essentially escorted her to, rather than her destination, to IMX headquarters, where she had a frustrating and protracted conversation with one of Sean Howard's two flunkies, but was ultimately released. So she, found places to crash until she was pretty sure that she was no longer a person of interest, and then carefully began to head in your direction. So exactly when that comes up, probably not the very first thing that she says, but that's kind of the long and short of it. Mainly, she wanted to, come check in and also just like be among friends for a minute after having just, been kind of couch surfing for a bit. She mentions that she was keeping Prolix with her, with the interview at IMX being complicated by Prolix's presence, but ultimately left Prolix temporarily in HF's care, promising that she would buy any reptiles that Prolix ate.
And did Prolix?
Oh, I haven't checked in yet. I'm hoping not.
I hear boa constrictors are expensive.
Well, he mostly is interested in things that like move quick, and I know that some reptiles can, but they usually just kind of sit around, right? It's probably fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry.
She'll happily just kind of, chat and catch up, wants to hear about, your exploits, things that you've uncovered, whatever else. But
we've dealt her in, so I think we tell her, pretty much what's been going on, and make it clear that, hey, we seem to be safe here for the moment. So if the others are good with it, and I assume they are, you're welcome to spend the time you need to spend.
Yeah, it's just,
we have a terrible workbench. Feel free.
Oh, well, don't mind if I do, but how are you? I feel like part of the reason to come here is to try and pitch in. I know you are all laying low, but you in particular are having to do it while, down a bookstore and also a house.
Yeah. I mean, thanks. I mean, I've been better, have been worse. Yeah, I don't know. You know better than most. I liked who I was here, so I got to figure out who I am now, I guess. And that's going to be a process.
She sort of puts a hand on your small arm and is like, well, I happen to have some expertise in reconfiguring the kinds of parts that make up the kind of person you are at the moment. So, if you need some help navigating this suboptimal working space, or somebody to go search for parts, or a steady pair of hands, or schematics, I'm not busy right now, and you seem like you could use the help.
I really appreciate it. I mean, truth be told, I need a new face. I probably need a new arm. I've been meaning to discuss with someone who would know whether it's possible to make a face out of an arm.
She chuckles and she says, not a question I've had posed before, but she gives your arm a critical look and says, I've seen hardware in this category of prosthetic before, but nothing exactly like this. It seems a shame, really. So I'd like to help you keep as much of it as we can, even if it's not an arm form anymore. So I don't know. How much of what's in your head is still fleshy bits or bony bits, I guess. Presumably the think meats looks like maybe parts of the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Still got some nasal tissue as well. couple of square inches of completely natural goosebumps in addition to the artificial bits. There's probably stuff worth salvaging, and honestly, if I look incredibly strange, that's fine as long as I don't look anything like the kind of strange I look like now.
She sort of strokes her chin, gives you considering looking, looks back and forth from your arm to your face to your arm. Yeah, I think we'll need to get rid of the multicolored effect, but if we're working with parts from the arm, how big a head are you comfortable having?
What, you're thinking like a GoldenEye 007 situation here, or like?
Wow, haven't thought about that in a minute. No,
It's
not
the first
quite
thing
that.
that came to mind. It's been a long week.
Just probably a little blockier, less head shaped, and then a little extra height if we're trying to use some of the more available parts. I think we can maybe redistribute some parts from the bigger arm to the smaller arm to make it even more even without necessarily fully replacing them.
I like where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean, blocky head seems fine. I'm probably well past smooching anybody who's looking for a standard smooch.
She gives a big grin and says, I don't understand why anybody would limit themselves. Well, I think we can work with this. And she pulls up her tablet. She goes, if you've got the time, I've got the time. And, we'll try to keep as much on you as we can, but just move it around in ways that'll throw off the fuzz. And
to say I owe you one is to put it very mildly, indeed. Thank you.
Spins her stylus around her fingers and goes, well, you can start paying me back by being a good canvas, and begins to pull up parts on her tablet, which I
strike
think
a Hecate with the pearl earring pose.
She makes a rather feeble attempt at a sort of feline growl sound and then breaks down laughing. And that will take up about as much time as you want it to. I think in terms of ongoing projects, there's that. There's Ing adding to yourself and your drones. And then I neglected to mention earlier in the rundown, Byrne, you also have that data you copied from the conspicuous directory.
Oh, I thought that was from
Goliath.
that Allie had that.
I believe that you did send a copy, but I wasn't assuming that you were keeping a copy.
For some reason, I had it in my brain that Allie was the one doing the copying.
No, that was a you find. So
okay, cool.
Then Allie does have that information. Well, we can either assume that was not precisely what was said, or that it doesn't matter very much. But yeah, you have some data to pick through while other projects get started as well.
Yep. I'm also polling everyone for what they want new names to be.
Mm-hmm. If anybody has a specific answer to that presently, we can go ahead and get those on air.
I mean, I assume for Ing that I'm just continuing with the previously discussed but not yet completed new identity.
Sure. That makes plenty of sense.
I'm going to fiat that when you ask me, I am not currently physically capable of speech. So I try to say something, but you don't hear it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I am also decidedly unhelpful, suggesting plain last names like Brown, Miller, Johnson, Doe.
So you want to be American?
I don't think I could pass as anything else. I mean, even in space, I feel like I slap of small town.
It's impossible to convincingly fake an accent that's foreign.
Do you say that with a straight face?
Probably better to stick with your country of origin.
I think.
Come on! I'm about to give myself a third country. Just don't want it to be American, but I'm still going to have to be tied to you two.
Well, you can pick the last name. I don't know what to call myself. I haven't really had to change my name.
You start getting texts in your head, kiddo?
Yeah, let's describe this a little bit, I guess. Bronwy is currently working on me, so most face is missing. It's probably a little disturbing since I do still have some fleshy bits.
Some
There's
Darth
a
Vader
little bit of-
hours.
yeah, Darth Vader hours. It's giving Vader. But yeah, I do. Let's say I text you a list, which we will reveal in the next episode.
Sure.
Spectacular.
While these various projects are ongoing, the information environment around your various operations starts to coalesce. And I won't get too far into the sort of attempted narrative sort of from the mainstream because it does get not like entirely refuted, but thwarted enough to have to change because of the information that primarily through K&B, but generally you all were able to put out there in terms of like video from the basement, information gleaned from the drones you encountered in the basement as well, the video of Haru's arrest, as well as some sort of selected information from your jailbreak, as well as some third-party, footage that sort of shows what a relative mess it was, at the site. A lot of heat is falling on Law Zero, who have seemingly evaporated with Sammy Chang in tow. They were always hard to nail down, but they're laying as low as humanly possible. Though that hasn't stopped certain elements of the press and the political establishment from trying to drum up anti-android sentiment. It at the very least is not moving the needle a whole lot from where it was before. People are not typically undecided on where they stand on android rights on Grand Cross, though of course there's always some people who get hit by the right comment at the right time in either direction. But a lot of the attention is focusing on, Law Zero's, shall we say, bombastic contributions to this operation, as being very attention-getting.
Bombastic, emphasis bomb.
Exactly. Being very attention-getting and dramatic and dangerous. Piper is sort of the public face of Goliath during this. You do learn that while it took a bit,
I'm so mad at her.
you do learn that while it took a bit, Barlow was eventually retrieved from the cell and is, laying low in a hospital, recovering from his injury. Not a whole lot of other information is available, but, Piper is doing the rounds, sort of, advancing the Goliath line and really laying it on thick. Yep.
I try to dig up as much dirt as I can to character assassinate.
Well,
it shouldn't
the good
be
bad
hard.
news.
She's a fairly assassinable character.
I was gonna say the good bad news is that Barlow Hawthorne has a lot of available character assassination material, so she looks bad defending him, but she does not appear to have really done much. She's young, in her early 20s, and was a business school student
So
back
just
in
work
Australia.
The nepotism angle then.
Yeah, and then came to space and worked the reception for Goliath HQ. There really isn't a whole lot to her until
well, the nepotism plus stooge. Although to
Sure.
the degree that those are separable is,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right. And it's not like everything she says is necessarily taken as gospel truth, because Goliath comes out of this looking pretty bad, right? It's a messy, loud, destructive kind of thing. If their HQ A has a black site prison on it, that B then gets successfully raided by not exactly immediately recognizable forces. That's not great for them. Nobody really has enough public information. Goliath isn't handing out a lot of information at this point to be talking about like Ing, or um, not having any laughing kit or holographic protection armor or anything in the press. There is an android, that had like a large combat chassis assumed to be part of Law Zero in a lot of the press narratives. But Cato, unfortunately, your likeness and affiliation with the Frontispiece is one of the things that Goliath
Is
has
plastered
in fact,
all over the everywhere.
been really pushing out there. And the expected but sort of disorganized and nebulous talking points about people who are heavily augmented, about people who are particularly interested in higher education or literacy being inherently suspect by the more conservative establishment, make the rounds. The biggest problem is obviously your identity and not any of the talking points they're trying to tie you to, which frankly very de rigueur. The other interesting thing, though, that is actually very much a problem, not just for Goliath, but for Unity in general, is the response that the spokespeople for the government had initially let slip a little bit more than they should have. In the relative confusion, the messaging from particularly Prime Minister Warwick Johnson's office was not very strategically sound. And while they didn't say as much immediately, a little bit of journalistic digging did turn up that Johnson was instrumental in getting Goliath its contracts because he's actually heavily invested in Goliath. He owns a sizable minority stake that should have been disclosed when he was campaigning for office and wasn't. So it's not a destabilizing crisis for him, but it has made everything that he's been saying about this operation related matters pretty suspect. And he seems to have taken the maybe pretty smart route of shutting the fuck up and hoping that it all blows over, which is very in character for him. The only things that his office, not him personally, but his office have been doing is, in addition to trying to sort of gin up anti-android sentiment from all of this, because the involvement of Slagpie, or rather not because of, but using the involvement of Slagpie in the demonstration at that park at the same time, they are attempting to also gin up anti-L4 refugee sentiment, which, as always, focuses mostly on the non-white refugees. So no specific policies have been forthcoming as yet, but there is a concerted effort to manufacture some sort of consent for a crackdown on the L4 refugees.
Anytime there's any sort of official statement, I would like to attempt to, through sock puppets and so on, just bring up, hey, we've got one of them having their fingers in the honey pot. How many of the rest of them didn't declare sizable minority stakes in other companies to which they've granted contracts? And wonder if any of them had anything to do with the explosion of the L4 station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for what it's worth, you're not the only one, out there kind of thinking along those lines. So, I want to get a couple of rolls here for our ongoing projects. And then I want to maybe start winding down as we get into the information that Byrne got from Goliath Systems. So, first off, Kato, I would love to get a cybernetics roll from you with clever, so 2d6 plus 5. If there's anything else on your character sheet that should apply, let me know. I'll be rolling for Bronwy.
I think we're good.
Okay.
All right. That is an 8 plus 5.
Nicely
13.
done.
I think that's, yeah.
Bronwy rolled a 12. So it's not fast, but between the two of you, you do good work, if not quick work. Some bits do have to get removed. Some bits do have to get replaced. Other bits, though, you work to move around, and you manage to even out your silhouette and change your face up pretty dramatically. There wasn't a ton of original flesh on it to begin with, and so you now have where there is fleshiness visible, which is less than before. It's a uniform like prosthetic material to afford your face some mobility, as that is something that you find useful and haven't done entirely without before. The novelty may be tempting, I suppose, but the practicalities, and Bronwy kind of talks you into it. However, particularly around the forehead, brow, temple, and a couple lower parts, as well as around the back and top, you incorporate pieces of your large arm. Making your cranium one of the more well-protected parts of your body, and B, giving you a very cybernetics forward look. It's not inhuman. You don't think somebody would look at you and immediately think android. Probably they're going to think you're wearing like a weirdly elaborate helmet, if they just kind of glimpse you out of the corner of their eye. 90s sci-fi illustration is sort of the vibe I'm trying to evoke here. What this means is that your mechanical essentially purchases at character creation for your arms do sort of remain with you, but you lose some of the distinctiveness that was going to be a problem. And your overall aspect gets, while less asymmetrical, a little bit more obviously inhuman too. What were you thinking for any, if any, changes to your voice? Because if it comes up, Bronwy has suggestions.
Yeah, no, there needs to be some kind of change. I sound way too distinctive. What does Bronwy suggest?
Well, it starts with seemingly joking suggestions. Barry White, Cher. She starts trying to brainstorm very distinctive but distinctly different from your current voices, and comes up with it's just to look up the name, but eventually comes up with Claudio Sanchez, the lead singer of Coheed and Cambria. Then from that suggests a litany of opera sopranos. But then says, well, no, I don't actually want to give you like fully someone else's voices, right? We're going to synthesize something, but, giving you some dramatic options, if nothing else. Haven't you always wanted to, belt a solo to the rafters?
I nod vigorously.
But she kind of, gets a little more serious. Like, but no, seriously, like, whatever you feel like having next is obviously the right answer. I'm just, having some fun brainstorming, and I don't know. It's an interesting option to have. You can almost see the light bulb.
Suggesting.
Because you almost see the light bulb, but she goes, accents. What were you saying?
I was going to say, I wouldn't mind sounding like I could do a soprano solo of some kind. And you know what? Maybe I am ready for something femme and maybe accents.
Oh, she steeples her fingers and she goes, the problem is there's so many good ones.
That is the problem. That's always been the problem with accents, in my opinion.
Taps her fingers on her chin. She goes, it probably doesn't say anything particularly positive about me, but the first place my brain went was Valley Girl. It's the contrast, you see.
At this point, I will walk in with the list of names, having overheard things. If you're going to be doing soprano solos, may I suggest Spanish or Italian?
Bronwyn goes, both really good options.
You could be.
That's the only remaining.
You could be a Louisa.
I did possibly suggest some ill-advised but very funny names of various Italian anarchists as possible cover. Let's go Italian, and we'll work from there.
Bronwyn literally does that thing where she like claps her hands together and then rubs them. And so, it continues to take some time. Moving sort of, somewhat arbitrarily next on the list here. Ing, you can certainly get help from Bronwyn, from Cato, from the Scrungler. But you have some work to do on your drones and yourself. So I would love to get a clever plus robotics 2d6 plus 6 from you. If there's something that should also click in here from your talents, by all means point it out to me.
Does personal drone apply or not? Is that more of the operation of the drones?
Yeah, let's actually apply it for this first roll, which is for the drone tags. So we'll have 2d6 plus 7.
I've got a 5 and a 2, so 7 on the dice, plus 7 is 14.
These drones, of course, are not nearly as familiar to you as your previous set, but that's actually kind of part of the joy of working on them at this point. You find is that you met under relatively high pressure circumstances. They were very helpful, and now have had some time to sort of like get a little more familiar with the individuals. Although with this mini, I'm not going to get into that so much, but Ing gets into it, for sure. And in starting to work on them as individuals and as a collective to, sort of add functionality, you start getting accustomed to them as a set and as individuals, and are able to supply yourself from the Scrungler's scraps fairly well. You do have to, I guess go on a couple of little side quests through, kind of like internet listings and intermediaries to find everything you need. But I haven't been throwing him on camera constantly because every time he's going to come in, he's going to be interrupting something that's more important. But the Scrungler seems honestly just like really pleased to have the company. He's real bummed when Haru leaves, but like doesn't like sour on the rest of you or anything. He seems to spend a lot of time by himself, and at least in the near term seems grateful for the activity, and is eager to impress cool criminals with his mechanical know-how. And weirdly enough, the organization of his vertical indoor scrapyard is utterly illogical, but it seems that he put basically everything where it is himself, and so is pretty good at finding things and knowing what he has. Not instant encyclopedia recall, but between his cataloging system and his personal familiarity, he does a pretty good job. And so between those two things, it does again take a little while. It's an ongoing process, but you do get your drones to where you want them, which then leaves you needing to get yourself where you want. So that's going to be another role here, but without the personal drone this time, because while they are involved, it's you doing the work on you. That said, you can get help from Kato, from Bronwy, from the Scrungler if you wish.
Yeah, I think
I'm
I'd like
especially
help from
able
all
to
of them.
help because I can give a boost that's the full value of my my skill. So
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. No, I absolutely make full use, with probably a few others there for key moments for moral support, I suppose.
Actually, a really good point here is that if you had made mention of your intention to work on yourself to Apatia, she will make an effort to be around, in her words, for immoral support.
Yeah.
Love
nice.
that.
I do. Yeah. Because it's a big move.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So, Ing, your primary role here is going to be clever plus robotics, and then you'll get to add, I believe, just 3 flat on top of that. So it'll be 2d6 plus 9, I believe.
Okay.
And I'm going to make a roll for Bronwy as well.
I've got 9 plus 9 is going to be 18.
Dang. Bronwy didn't roll that well, but she did get a critical success. So, it is not a quick process. There's a lot of preparation, and then once everything is in place and everybody is involved, you have to remain activated through the whole process, which is not as uncomfortable for you as it would be for a human being undergoing this kind of operation, but is also difficult and feels very exposed. But Apatia is handy to have around for exactly that kind of thing. And there's a particular moment that sticks out to you where you and Kato have done a lot of the trickier sort of structural parts to get to your what is essentially your nervous system, and Bronwy is doing a little bit more of the like firmware integration. That's actually a lot of the meat of this changeover, and at the point where she is in the process of connecting an interface cable somewhere, kind of for a human being would be like inside the base of your neck. She seemingly unconsciously just kind of mutters under her breath, "You're beautiful," and then starts to sort of load the firmware, and gets a big silly smile on her face. and takes what you've prepared and integrates it with the command layer that we talked about with your drones before. Essentially, what this does is it loads that command layer as what in a personal computing context would be a driver in your sensory suite and motor functions. It's very complicated in a way that I am not remotely equipped to explain in a plausible way, but it seems to go well. And in having opened you up to this degree in a physical and a software sense, everybody involved takes a moment, an opportunity to sort of, make minor improvements to how you're fitted back together as well. You're pretty good about maintenance, but it's been a minute since you've, kind of stripped to studs for that kind of thing. And so everybody kind of contributes, which is good because you're taking a minute. You had to be activated through this whole process. So imagine, if you will, that you grew 24 extra heads while you were just kind of sitting around your house. That is not precisely, but broadly the experience here, and it takes some getting used to.
Yeah, I feel like my consciousness feels a lot more like perhaps an octopus does, with like a distributed and central nervous system that are like not opposite creatures or separate creatures, but like not separate, that they've got. So yeah, very strange. And I feel more spread out now.
You do find, not immediately, but after a little bit of experimentation, that you can shift your focus in much the way that you can for a limb, right? You can kind of be using it half consciously versus really focusing in on what you're doing with it. So that you can sort of spread out or narrow in. And with a little bit of practice, you manage to essentially in rapid sequence be able to spread out and then narrow in to like another point in your perception web. Movement is harder, though it is coming along. You have the ability to control the motor functions of all of the drones in the swarm, and a lot of the software layer does handle the individual physics so that you don't have to practice flying like a baby bird to use the fly it on the bird drones. What turns out to be kind of difficult is isolating movements, right? If you want to raise a left wing on one of the bird drones, it takes a little work to figure out how to not raise all the left wings on all the bird drones. But again, you're getting there. It's not the work of months.
I do imagine, though, just seeing like a couple afternoons of all the bird drones raising one hand and everyone just sort of turning to look and going, are they going to eat us?
Yes, next question.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to suggest consume but not digest.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yep. But yeah, moving along.
So,
I think while all of this is going on, which has, of course, taken a few days, I go from repeatedly assembling or disassembling, cleaning my guns, reassembling them, checking the actions, to eventually scrounging around, pick up a plastic bag and put some items in it. And eventually, once Ing seems to be back to full functionality, I set it in front of them and say, like, hey, since it seems I'm everyone's mom now, I figure I need a rebranding. And like peel back the plastic bag and reveal a lot of spray paint. And roll up the sleeve of my padded clothing to reveal like the old PSS Augment. I think maybe the cop branding might be a problem.
I think so. It's not all or most of who you are. Actually, not at all. I can do something custom for you.
Yeah, I haven't really decided what I want with it, but I have seen some of your work before, so I trust your vision.
I, as a player, might need some time to think about what it is, but maybe Ing does as well. And so, gives it some thought, kind of looks at the dimensions, takes a few measurements just to kind of jot it down for the idea book, and says, come back this afternoon. I've got some ideas.
Cool. Thanks. I go back to restlessly pacing.
Absolutely.
Cleaning my guns, occasionally checking the action, pacing some more.
I text you both, or, ping you both to both, as in Kato and Cal, to seek approval for the names Vic and Ash Galliani.
Soiree.
That's the middle name.
I do ask. I can't be Vic Soiree.
You get a flat no.
All right. Then that sounds fine.
I send a thumbs up emoji.
You're not sure what I sound like, but at that time, Bronwyn and I are probably both laughing because I'm fiddling with the equipment. And I say, integer IP equals 99. What does Oh, you can set an integer. Okay. I should not put that at the maximum. It actually goes to 103.
I have helped create a monster.
After I beat, I send, do I have to do the accent? In a frowny face.
You can be of Italian descent, or you can have married an Italian, but you can also be American with that last name. That is sort of how immigration works.
I send a thumbs up emoji.
I send an ASCII art of pinched fingers.
I respond with the emoji of same.
You see me typing, the 3 dots vanish, they appear again, and then you get the same emoji.
So the last sort of thing that I believe is kind of outstanding in my mind that we can maybe wind down this delightful session on is Burns' research into the information copied from Goliath's servers.
Yes.
It is, in addition to having been hidden like a teenager's stash of pornography, also encrypted, and not in a casual kind of operating system standard way. The more you work on it, Byrne, the more you are sort of thinking to yourself, if this is the approach to trying to hide it, why would you keep it? The responsible thing to do here would be to not. So I'd love to get a hacking, no ghosting required roll here for how efficiently you manage to circumvent the security on this information.
Sure. And I assume it's clever, so +9.
That sounds right.
That is a pair of 4s, so a critical 17.
Okay. So you are able to eliminate some possibilities for, how to approach decrypting this directory so that, it doesn't just have to brute force over the course of 1 trillion years or whatever. And then you, having eliminated those possibilities, are realizing that, like, you may actually be able to source the tool for this. It's used to be a fairly high security suite of cartel tech, but it's out of date. Somebody encrypted this a while back and then didn't come back to it. And so, as is often the case with security products, various, tools and information and workaround have spread. So it's still not child's play, but you are able to, over the course of the time, and I mean, like with a lot of these things, a lot of it's waiting.
Yep.
So you are able to, do other things while this is going, but, devote some processing power in a secure environment to working on this once you have, a possible solution devised, checking in on it, adjusting the parameters, coming back. And so having been very loosey-goosey with the order in which things happened during all of this time, the one thing I'll sort of put on the timeline is that, this is the last thing that we're covering today temporarily that happens is you get the ding of the oven finishing, so to speak. And there is a fair bit of information here. Some files that are, stored as text, a lot more images and video, none of them extra specially high quality, but the very first thing that you inspect, again, still assuming within the sort of sterile environment here, is very clearly an image of an unusually clean leaper in what is clearly a laboratory environment. You have come across, at the very least, strong suggestions tying official cartel actors to the development of Dreamers. It's going to take a minute to parse through all of this information and figure out exactly what you have, but as they sometimes say in the business, jackpot.
Looks like we can burn them down.
I can't think of a better place to end the session than that one-liner. Just about perfect. So that'll conclude this session of Dice Punks. Thanks for joining us. I hope our players and listeners enjoyed it as much as I did, and that you'll join us again next time. If you're hearing us now, then you probably know where to listen to this, but we can be found almost any place one can listen to podcasts, as well as on their wider web at dicepunks.com, and on Tumblr and Blue Sky is at Dicepunks. With that, I think we're ready to say farewell, so say goodbye to the kind folks back on Earth, players.
Thanks for listening. Family is where you find it, and accents are measurable in integers.
We appreciate you tuning in. I hope that you know when it is appropriate to drop the F-bomb.
Thanks for listening, folks. And if you find yourself in possession of materials that could destroy powerful people, use it.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. If you do have pets that listen along with you, then please thank them for us.
Hear, hear.
And tell them I say hi.
And as the poet once said, so we're passing the time while time passes us. The fast lane's a term that's never applied to us. Without a dime to my name or a prayer in the world, I walk out the door. Destination, anywhere but here. Beloved listeners, thank you for tuning in. Stick around through the admin stuff for a special message from Cal. Music in this episode, Augment or Die, is by Emerson, Boatwright, and our very own bookmonger, Drew. Check out their other work at the link in the show notes. Editing on our rad new cover art was done by Joanne, who's appeared on the podcast now and again. Check out her work around the internet where she goes by Anything Sews. Site design and graphics for DicePunks.com or by the Revenant Robin. Hardwired Island, and it's by Paul McChevick, Freya Erling's daughter, and Minerva McJonda. You can find Hardwired Island at etten.itch.io/hardwiredeisland. Links to the system and authors can be found on the Punk Grimoire section of our website, dicepunks.com. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, that's reward enough on its own, but if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord and access to the Dice Speaks After Show for episodes 1.1 and following. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then, remember, subtlety is for cowards.
All right, fine. This is one of those just in case recordings. Things are getting hairy and yeah, I know the math. Odds are I go before you. I'll be 60 soon and you're barely out of the gate. So if you're hearing this, something went sideways. Don't go looking for poetry or sappy goodbyes. I'm not the type to tie a pretty bow on a bad ending. I just didn't walk away this time. There's cash in the closet safe. Not much of an inheritance, but it's something. Try not to spend it all in one place. And don't insult me by mourning too long. Get back up, kids. Wipe your damn eyes and keep fighting. They say when you die, your life flashes before your eyes. Mine wasn't much to look at. So when my time comes, it won't be my past I see. It'll be the future. Yours. Ing, I see you building something bigger than any human dared. A world where androids don't have to prove a damn thing, where you don't survive beside humanity. You chart your own course past it. A foot in both worlds, a heart big enough to hold them both. Burn, I see you laughing, feet up, eating food that actually tastes good, taking classes on whatever the hell catches your fancy, putting down roots because there's nothing left to run from, only toward. The people you love right there, close enough to touch. Cato, I see you steady. Not scheming in the shadows, not running to defy powers larger than yourself, but steady, a pillar. I see you running farm shares instead of fixing jobs, bartering food instead of favors, and holding the whole community you've built together because that's just who you are. That's what I'll see when karma catches me. Not the wreckage I left behind. Not my mistakes. Just you. Us. Louder and clearer than anything else in my life. Best damn thing I ever lived for. A set of futures I want to stick around for. Oh, you'd probably tell me I'm getting soft. That futures like those aren't possible in a city like this. But that's your future. Not because the world made space for you, but because you tore that space from its hands. And yeah, I'll still stand off to the side, arms crossed, pretending I don't care what the truth is. I'm proud of you. Every miserable, maddening one of you. Thanks for letting me believe in a future I didn't think I deserved. One where I don't feel like I'm doing this alone. One that felt like family. So, yeah, this is a rare one-take wonder. Not something I plan on ever needing, but between you and me, since I'm being honest, I hope I got to see it. I hope I get to watch you make those futures yours. You're mine, whether you like it or not. I love you, damn kids. And that love, it means something. It always did. And I'm not done showing you.
Hello